and even my guy Sammy, they all have a philosophy from which they teach from. What was instilled to you early on in jiu-jitsu?
That can be a kind of a controversial question, but I'm just going to keep it light. Garth Taylor, he teaches by the sea. Okay. So he's a total surfer dude. Yeah. And he was very good at instructing, like, hands off. He could be sitting across the room and give you, like, detail.
Really?
Yeah, he would be sitting across the room chatting with another person, and he would see me close to a submission, and he would tell me step by step how to do it. So if you can listen and you're coachable, he can guide you all the way to submission. So yeah, he's a bigger dude. He's like 250 plus or something like that. So I mean, it was kind of hard to roll with him sometimes because I was 100 pounds less. But like I said, if you can listen and you're coachable, he can teach you so much.
So within a short period of time, you should have a sprawl and be able to grab and be able to get punched into the face. When did you start to feel comfortable on the ground from there?
Well, he brought he had his brown belt take over his classes. Paul Schreiner, when he came in and kind of took over his classes, that's when I started feeling a little bit more comfortable because he would bring it in. He would, kind of like intertwine the stand-up to the,
So it's an MMA jiu-jitsu training line as compared to a straight BJJ line.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing the gloves with the takedown, kind of. I guess I should explain that to people. There are definitely almost three ways to train, right? There's training for stand-up, there's training for MMA, and there's training if you're just doing straight BJJ that day in a gi. And the standard one that I've seen all the way from Quest up the coast is usually like a pair of boxing gloves, work on takedown and stop. You're usually wearing headgear and then working a very simple ground game. But working that line, switching people repeatedly, is that the kind of thing we're talking about?
Yeah, but not with any gear on. It was basically no gi, and then it was just for position to get in position. And because I mean, no offense to all the people that have are black belts in MMA, but when you're first starting out in MMA, all you need is like simple jiu-jitsu and takedown defense. If you're a striker, yeah.
I joke because I just got crap literally today from my coach on this. He's like, I know you can hold. I've watched your videotape. I said, I thought the guy had a belt. Look, all I do is strike. All I got to be able to do is hold him. If I can hold him, I can survive the round. I just got to keep him up against my chest.
Yeah.
And that's funny because you're a striker and I believe in a striking position. To me, jiu-jitsu I was talking about this today. Guys like Stefan Struve, where they have no striking ability whatsoever, and they're just using incredible. They're using their bodies to go in there with the intent of just submitting somebody. I don't even know if that exists in fighting anymore. I think you have to be able to strike and shoot. I think you have to be a hybrid at that level. From what you've seen, is the game gone to the point, even for women, to the point of you've got to be completely well-rounded?
I mean, no offense to Ronda, but I think that she kind of proved that point to be very true.
Why did
Ronda? You can't be one-dimensional.
Tell me
this.
You
can't be one-dimensional.
Why did she? Who told her she could strike? Who told her?
I don't know, but her shadow boxing.
It was painful.
There's this video of Conor McGregor making fun of her shadow boxing, and if she would have branched out and I know she was trying to be loyal to her first MMA coach, but sometimes you hit a brick wall with a trainer and you gotta move on, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, man.
Okay, and this just happened again with BJ Penn as well. If you're a world class, absolute level, okay, and we're talking with BJJ, absolute level. He didn't even care what size you were. Absolute level grappler. Why are you trying to strike? What goes through your head that you have the ability to strike. She's gotten to where she is in the UFC by being a world-class judo throwing badass with a submission. And then she gets hit in the face for the first time and she completely changes everything. How important that would be the question. How important is it to be able to, you're going to get hit and you better like it?
You know, a lot of one-dimensional fighters that have been, fighting for a long time. I'm not going to say any names, but, and all of a sudden they try to, hey, they're a black belt in judo or jiu-jitsu or something like that. And then they're like, you know what? I've been working on my striking really hard for the past year and I want to use it in this fight. But it's like, when shit hits the fan, you better go back to your bread and butter. And I know wrestlers are really good at going back to their bread and butter, but for some reason there are a lot of jiu-jitsu people out there, and I guess now we can say judo, that just continue to strike. And then people are like, what the heck are you doing? You should go back to your bread and butter, So, yeah, I mean, and then even as a kickboxer, I had a really hard time transitioning to MMA. I mean, obviously my record in the beginning, before I made it to CSA, I think I was like 2-2 before I went to CSA, or 2-3 actually. I went to CSA Gracie Fighter with a negative record, and then they turned it around for me and, completely changed my career. And, so
talk about that transition. How does that happen? You're kind of struggling along in between these skill sets. What is it that changes? Who's the trainer? What's the mental position that turns you into a complete fighter?
You know what? It was a really weird transitional stage for me because, like my parents died a couple years before. Like they died right before my fight with Gina Carano. And then if people don't know anything about that, just watch Warrior Nation, I think it was. Warrior Nation, MSNBC, they did this whole special on the fight. So, but anyways, after my parents died, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go check out Vegas for a couple of years. So then I went to Vegas, and, I got hooked up with Sean Tompkins, and I was training with him and Randy at Extreme Couture, and then I went to Tap Out with Kevin Randleman, and then, I also was training with Robert Drysdale, as you know.
As I know.
And then all of a sudden I just decided, you know what, it's time to go home. And then I came back to California, moved back into my condo, and then I just started training with Caesar all the way in Pleasant Hill. And then I had always been friends with Miriam Nakamoto, and she actually reintroduced me to Kirian because I already knew Kirian. Mm-hmm. And then it just, he heavily recruited me, and then I ended up there. And so, yeah, it was a really fun time.
What did you learn? Well, let's go through the list. What did you learn from Sean Tompkins? For those that don't know, for a very long period of time, Sean Tompkins was considered the mastermind of all MMA fighters. He was the guy to go see for 2007 to 2010?
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from him?
I'm sorry. I trained with him from, I want to say 2008 to 2010.
Yeah, that's about right. What did you learn from him at that point?
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Well, obviously he's a really good striker, so, kickboxing and transitioning, getting better footwork because, I was kind of, I guess you could say confused. I would go back and forth. So I was right-handed and left-handed. So when I was younger, I was forced to be right-handed. So I've always been ambidextrous. And then I ended up being southpaw. And then when I went to CSA, I got a lot more work with my footwork. But Sean Tompkins was helping me with my footwork when I was at Extreme Couture.
Okay. And did you have any interaction with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Randy Couture?
Of course. He gave me my first black eye when I moved to Vegas.
I knew the answer to that. What did you learn from Randy other than the ungodly work effort that he still puts in? I just saw him recently. I'm the same age as him, and how does he do that?
Randy's a total badass. Dirty boxing.
Get him on the cage and just rough him up.
Yeah, I'd never done that before because, you know, in kickboxing, dirty boxing is not allowed, but it's totally allowed in MMA, and I learned that from him.
And
I picked those.
You also had a chance while you were in Vegas, without overlooking them. Literally, now that the world is all about BJJ, like they've discovered all these guys. Robert Drysdale, who, if you tour, for those of you who tour the BJJ websites, Robert's been around for a long time, and he's one of the nicest guys that I've ever met along the way. An amazing teacher. What did you learn over at Drysdale's?
Robert Drysdale is a super cool jiu-jitsu instructor. He was also training with me at Couture's for MMA because, you know,
this is before he opened his place.
It's right before. It's seriously like right when he opened his new place, and I was training with him at the same time. And I was like, people are like, yeah, go to Robert's. He just opened a gym up on, you know, Sahara, and so I went over to check it out, and I had a great time. And you know, the other instructor, the morning instructor there, was great, and you know, just felt really welcome by everyone at the school. So, you know, where would
you put your skill at this point? I don't mean to interrupt. Where would you put your skill at this point? I mean, how confident are you as a fighter getting all these different influences? And what's the conditioning like? I'm kind of obsessed as I'm getting exhausted with my current conditioning, getting ready for Pan Am. So how heavy are you training? Like, what's a regular week for you with all these different things going on?
Well, my son and I were giving each other colds back and forth since like last year. And so we had to go to the emergency room last week. So now that we're both better, he's probably just going to roam the cage while I'm kickboxing.
Rewind. You missed the question. It might have dropped off in translation because I didn't ask that question. That was weird. What was your?
No, we've both been really sick, so I can't give you that.
No,
answer.
What was it like back in the Vegas days at your peak? That's the part I missed.
Oh, gotcha.
You go.
Okay, I thought you were asking me like what it is now.
No, I know it's nothing right. You're a mom right now. No, your job is to watch your son.
Not raise a little asshole.
Please hope. Please don't. Please. There are a lot of them.
I know there's too many. So, no, he would have those week-long, sometimes they would be like 2 or 3 weeks, training camps that, you know, all the BJJ black belts, they now have them. It's like really big business for them. They will invite people and charge like $500 to $1,000. Hey, come train with us a week before the tournament, a week before the Pan Ams, or a week before this World Championship.
Right.
But he would do like, you know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And so all these people from all over the world and country would come into his school. So it was really cool being able to roll with all these different levels, higher belts. And there was a bunch of women there too. Sophia, Michelle Nicolini.
Yeah.
And then even like some Machado brothers and Jenny Sapilli. So I got to roll with all these high-ranking females, and that was really good for my game as well. And so I really enjoyed all the females that trained there. It was a lot of fun.
How bad a workout day is it at that point for you? And we're talking about 2008 to 2010. I mean, what's a standard workout day look like when you're doing it full time as a fighter?
It was like 3 days. You do 3 days, 2 times a week, and then 2 days the other 3 days. And then Saturdays is just one training session. So like Saturdays would be that long, 10 o'clock in the morning to like 1. And it, most of the time it would just be like a big old marathon roll. And this is just training for jiu-jitsu. I wasn't doing any other training. And then, of course, one of the sessions would be actually going to the gym, lifting weights, and maybe not lifting weights if you're cutting, but running, fitness, any type of cardio, whatnot, body weight exercises. and then a roll in the morning, like a training session in the morning.